Imagine this scene for a second. You have 30,000 people, a full orchestra, a massive parade, and the King of Israel himself leading the charge. It's supposed to be the ultimate homecoming celebration. And then, in a split second, the music stops, and a man drops dead right next to the holiest object on earth.
It's a jarring shift, isn't it? We're looking at the story of David bringing the Ark of the Covenant into Jerusalem. And honestly, it starts with one of the most disturbing moments in the ancient texts. It goes from a festival to a funeral instantly.
Right, this is the incident with Uzzah. They put the ark on a new cart, which sounds respectful enough, and the oxen stumble. Uzzah reaches out to steady it, just trying to help, and God strikes him down. It feels incredibly harsh to modern ears. I mean, wasn't he just trying to protect the ark?
It does feel harsh, but there's a deeper layer here about the nature of the sacred. See, the text mentions they put the ark on a new cart. That seems nice, but historically, the law stated the ark was to be carried on the shoulders of the Levites. By using a cart, they were treating this terrifying, holy presence of God like it was just heavy cargo.
So it wasn't just an accident, it was negligence?
Exactly. It was casualness. Think of it like high-voltage electricity. If you touch a live wire, it doesn't matter if your intentions are good. The nature of the power is what it is. Uzzah's death was a wake-up call that they were trying to manage God rather than revere him. It terrified David. He actually stops the whole procession and says, "How can the ark of the Lord come to me?" He suddenly realized he's playing with fire.
So he parks the ark at the house of Obed-edom for 3 months, and interestingly, that guy gets blessed like crazy. So David decides, okay, let's try this again. But the vibe is different this time.
Completely different. The second time, there's no cart. They take 6 steps and sacrifice an ox. It's slow, it's deliberate, and it's reverent. But then, we get this incredible contrast in behavior. You have David, the king, stripping off his royal robes and dancing in a simple linen ephod with all his might.
And that leads to the domestic drama. His wife, Michal, is watching from the window. The text says she despised him in her heart. That's strong language. What was her problem? Was she just jealous?
It's a clash of values. Michal is the daughter of Saul, the previous king. She grew up in a court where image was everything. To her, a king acts dignified, distant, and superior. But here is David, leaping around like a commoner, sweating, joyful, completely unconcerned with how he looks. She sees it as vulgar.
She actually accuses him of uncovering himself like a vain fellow, basically calling him a fool.
Right. And David's comeback is legendary. He tells her, "It was before the Lord who chose me over your father." He's saying, "My dignity doesn't come from my clothes or my title. It comes from God." He's willing to look undignified if it means being authentic in his worship. It's a profound statement on leadership. True authority doesn't need to put on airs.
That's a great point. So the ark is finally home. David settles into his beautiful cedar palace, and he has this moment of guilt. He looks around and says, I'm living in luxury, but God's ark is just in a tent. He wants to build a temple, a permanent house for God.
It's a noble thought. Even the prophet Nathan initially says, "Go for it." But then God intervenes that night with a fascinating twist. This is the pivot point of David's life. God basically says, "Did I ask for a cedar house? I've been moving around in a tent with my people this whole time."
It's almost like God is rejecting the upgrade.
In a way, yes. But then God flips the word house on its head. David wants to build God a house, a building. But God says, "No, I'm going to build you a house." And he means a dynasty, a lineage.
That's a massive promise. He promises that David's throne will be established forever.
Precisely. And notice the irony. David wants to do something for God. He wants to be the benefactor. But God reminds him, "I took you from the sheep pen. I made you a prince. I'm the one doing the giving here." God refuses to let David turn the relationship into a transaction. He tells David that his son will build the temple, but the real treasure isn't the building. It's the promise that God will be a father to David's line.
And David's reaction to being told no on the temple project is surprising. He doesn't sulk.
No, he goes in and sits before the Lord. That image of the king sitting on the floor, totally humbled, is powerful. He asks, "Who am I, O Lord God?" He realizes that the no to his architectural plans was actually a yes to an eternal legacy.
It really frames the idea of legacy differently. We usually think legacy is what we build, structures, companies, monuments. But here, the legacy is what God promises to sustain through us, often in ways we can't control.
That's the key. David wanted to secure God's presence in a stone building. God wanted to secure David's future through a covenant. One is static, the other is alive. It suggests that sometimes, when our good plans are blocked, it's because we're thinking too small. We're thinking about cedar and stone, and reality is trying to give us something eternal.
That leaves us with a tough question. Are we willing to let our version of success die, like David's temple plans, to make room for something we might not even live to see fully realized?
That is the question. It requires a lot of trust to sit down, let go of the control, and say, "Do as you have spoken."
A lesson in humility from the guy who is willing to dance in the street. Thanks for breaking this down with me.
Always a pleasure. Blessings.